Boss, I'm sure that you have heard about the term last mile delivery. You've heard about the term first mile delivery. The big question is, what happens in the middle? That's what I want to talk to you about in today's conversation. I want to explain to you how to start a very profitable middle mile delivery business. So here are the steps I really want you to follow right now. The first thing you need to understand here is you need to understand what middle level means, okay? The middle mile in logistics is the part of a supply chain that actually moves goods from the port to the warehouse or distribution center. And this is basically known as local distribution, and it really offers cost-saving opportunities that companies using last mile delivery do not use, okay? So this is really important to understand that. Let me repeat. Middle mile delivery is the point of the supply chain where goods are transported from one facility to another before being picked up for delivery. Okay, so the route of a middle mile delivery is usually from a holding or fulfillment center to a distribution hub. So I really want you to picture that in your mind. Okay, so whether you are going to use a cargo van, an 18-wheeler, or a sprinter van, or a box truck to actually take care of a middle mile, you need to understand geographically, logistically speaking, what we're talking about when we mention the term middle mile logistics or middle mile delivery. Okay, and so the whole thing here is that we're speaking about all the operations needed during middle mile delivery. So that's what middle mile logistics really mean. Okay, it is really the process of working with truckers to move products from the two locations. And middle mile delivery requires proper planning and scheduling based on trucker availability, but also based on cargo van availability, based on box truck availability, based on sprinter van availability. Okay, and you also need to think about not only the trucker availability, but also order load, inventory, and other factors. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. I love to have this conversation about middle mile, first mile, and last mile delivery. And to really also, let me quickly sort of remind you of first mile logistics. So first mile logistics is the operations for delivering products from the manufacturer or retailer to their warehouse to a holding or fulfillment facility. So this is the first step in the process of moving the products from production to the customer, okay? And because each order needs to be fully accurate from the first mile in terms of labeling, packaging, and shipment to keep the process on schedule. Keeping things accurate is the first mile, and the first mile can ensure that on-time deliveries are happening to your end customers, okay? So what about last mile logistics? So last mile delivery is the process of getting the product from a distribution center to the customer or a retail store. Okay, so it's really important to understand the three parts. So now that you have a clear understanding of the three levels, so first mile, middle mile, and last mile, let's move on to next step number 2. What you want to do here is if you want to start a profitable middle mile delivery business, you need to position yourself. As I already explained to you, you can see that there are different touch points during the logistical process, right? So boss, my question to you is, how are you going to position yourself? Right now, let's say right now you're somewhere in Ohio, or somewhere in Georgia, or you're somewhere in Texas, you're somewhere in Florida. Okay. How are you going to position yourself in terms of the middle mile delivery? Because you need to see exactly, are you going to work with the first mile delivery person, the delivery company, or are you going to work with the final mile delivery person? Okay, the last mile. It's important. Or are you going to have any kind of combo arrangements? This is really important because otherwise you'll be leaving a lot of money on the table. Like you might be engaging in deals that you have no idea about, that are really counterproductive to your business. Okay, because the bottom line is, if you want to make money in this industry, you have to find ways to reduce cost. In other words, you need to understand when the product leaves the first mile and then enters the middle mile, and then when it leaves the middle mile and then goes into the last mile. Okay, and you need to also understand that there is competition in this industry like crazy. There's a lot of competition because middle mile is a lot easier. See, first mile and last mile are more complicated. I will explain that another day, but just know for all intents and purposes that middle mile is more complicated than first mile and last mile. Okay, so because of that, because middle mile is relatively easier, you have a lot of companies that are trying to take advantage of the business opportunity. Okay, so this is really important, boss. Let me quickly remind you of today's conversation. What are we talking about? I'm talking to you about how to start a profitable middle mile delivery business. Now, you need to, when it comes to positioning yourself, you can try third-party logistics service. you can try to work with, you can subcontract with another delivery company that's already doing middle mile. Okay, so instead of you actually shouldering all the burden, all the risks, you want to subcontract. That way, if something happens, you know your ass is not on the line. Because see, the whole thing is you don't want to put, if you're not comfortable putting your ass on the line, then you want to outsource, you want to subcontract. Okay, and the thing here is that you need to also use technology to have an advantage in this game. Very important. So positioning yourself is really critical. Number 3, boss, if you really want to, if you want to start a profitable middle mile delivery business, you need to find ways to optimize deliveries. Okay, so whether you're driving a cargo van, a sprinter van, a box truck, whether you're having an 18-wheeler, a semi, or whatever vehicle you want to drive, you need to make sure that you're optimizing delivery. What does that mean? It means that you are basically making sure that you optimize the time of delivery, you're optimizing the packaging of delivery, you're optimizing your communication with customers. Those are really important. Time, packaging, and communication. Okay, so that means that you're going to have to build a more flexible supply chain at your level. Okay, it means you need to communicate properly with the first mile and the last mile delivery personnel or companies. Okay, it means that you're going to have to work with the warehouse management people, because see, when we talk about first mile versus middle mile or last mile, you're going to have to deal with people, not only truckers, not only other delivery drivers, but you also have to deal with the warehouse people, the fulfillment center people. Okay, so you need to optimize your delivery, and the best way to do this is to use route optimization software. This is really, in our experience, and we've been studying this for the last 20 to 30 years, the best way to optimize deliveries is to use technology, is to use route optimization software. Then that way you can talk to the people in the first mile delivery business and also in the last mile delivery business. Okay, the bottom line is that when we talk about delivery in general, that business, when we talk about middle mile delivery business, this is purely geographic. It's really geographic. It's really local. Okay, so if you have a question about your specific geography, let us know in the comment section. Tell us what's really happening there, and we'll be able to actually advise you more. Because what's happening in Chicago is not the same thing that's happening in Teaneck, New Jersey, or Hackensack, New Jersey, or LA, or whatever. Okay, situations are totally different. It really depends on what we call the supply and demand forces. It depends on shippers and carriers in a specific geography. Okay, when it comes to delivery, especially middle mile delivery, it's very geographic focused. The next thing I want you to do here is to study local rivals, okay? And this sort of harks back to the comments that I just made about geography playing an important role, right? Everything in the delivery business, it's all about geography. So it's really important to understand that you're not the only one playing middle mile. I told you before that middle mile is relatively easier than first mile and last mile. What will happen here is that you have a lot of players who are trying to enter. They will try to enter the middle mile delivery business and trying to make the same money that you came to make too. So which means you're going to have to find a way to study them. I'm not trying to say go ahead and fight them. No, you want to study them. You want to see, like, let me give you an example. I want to give you a concrete example. Let's say you are somewhere in Hackensack, New Jersey. I want to give a shout out to all my peeps in Hackensack, New Jersey. I love y'all. Or you talking about, Newark, New Jersey, or let's just, like, whatever location you are. You have to see, first of all, you go and Google my business. Just type middle mile delivery, Hackensack, New Jersey. Just start with the Google search, and you'll realize all the players who are already playing in the field you want to enter. In other words, you're not even present on the field yet, but you have a lot of players who are making money already. So just by using Google, you have a clear idea about the sheer number of people you are going to fight against. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you want to go in your county, You know, like if you are, let's say if you are in New Jersey, for instance, and you are in Teaneck, New Jersey, or Tenafly, or and this is like Bergen County, you go to the county and you ask for you trying to go for the Chamber of Commerce, and they have records of companies that have been incorporated or organized in the county. Okay, so that way you have a clear idea how many people are in the delivery business, how many companies are in the delivery business. Okay. By the way, boss, I want to quickly again remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about how to start a profitable middle mile delivery business. So the thing is that when you actually study your local rivals, you know exactly the ins and outs, you know the strengths and weaknesses, and then you know whether or not it is worth actually penetrating that industry. Okay, because the last thing you want to do is actually get an industry that's already saturated, and then you're like, I can't really do this, and then by the time you already realize you've spent a lot of cash already, and you have a lot of sunk cost. Like sunk costs are costs that are really hard to recoup because they take a long time. You've already spent the money, and so you want to stay away from that. So be very careful, okay? Be very careful. Study your rivals. So number one, understand middle level or middle mile delivery. Number two, position yourself. Number three, optimize deliveries. Number four, you want to study local rivals. And number five, which is really which is the juicier part in our view, you need to find potential clients. Oh, this is really important. Now, the cool thing here is that if you go back to my comment about middle mile being a very geographic play, if you're a geographic game, you're going to have to start reaching out to local shippers. You're going to have to reach out to don't even try load boards, because load boards are saturated. It's just a waste of your time anyway. You'll find a lot of players, a lot of shippers on that website, on those load boards, and they're just trying to razzle dazzle you, giving you like very low rates. It's just a waste of time. I mean, there are, if you're a niche hauler, if you're a niche shipper, if you're a niche delivery operation, then you're really good. But if you are if you want to just haul general goods, whatever, you will find a lot of competition because everybody's doing it. Because you really have to differentiate yourself, boss. If you don't differentiate yourself, you'll find it very complicated to even survive. I'm not even talking about competing. I'm talking about surviving in this industry because it's saturated. Crazy. Okay. So you need to find potential clients, which means what? You need to find new markets. You need to network. Okay. You need to actually to go online and study. So, for example, you need to put in Google, for example, like retail stores in your area. So you have addresses of all the retail stores in your area. So you're going to have to do some cold calling. You're going to have to do some hard pitching. You're going to have to actually do some solicitation. You're going to have to try some online marketing. That's those things people don't tell you. Everybody talks about, you go on load boards. Okay, if everybody goes on load boards, who's going to remain? It's just crazy. So I'm sharing with you some tips and hacks, whatever, so you can actually still make money. You can get some very profitable loads without actually going on the same sorry ass path that everybody wants to follow, which is the load boards. No, try a freight dispatcher, try a freight broker. Okay, try things that you want to try the path that is least taken, that is least used, because those paths, when you go the extra mile, literally, you find that the extra mile is very empty or lonely. And loneliness is really great because you don't have a lot of competition. That's what that means. Okay. So try referrals. Try referrals. You might get a lot of great opportunities. Try promotions. Try print advertising. Okay. And your existing customer, keep them happy. Boss, keep them happy. Okay. So do everything you can to find potential clients. The next thing I want you to do here is to explore last mile instead. Maybe middle mile is not something that you want to start, maybe because it's too complicated or because it's too competitive. Then you can try maybe the first mile or the last mile. Okay, but if you want to really make money, first mile is relatively saturated compared to the last mile. So it's just a lot better to try last mile, and maybe you will find your luck by doing that. But you got to ask yourself, what is your competitive edge? Because there's something called in marketing and business in general, there's something called USP. What is your unique selling point? Boss, talk to me about that. Is it your cargo van? Is it your Sprinter van? Is it is it your box truck? Is it your 18 wheeler? Is it your semi? What do you have that's making you like that is granting you that USP? Is it because you are in a niche that is very that's rare? Okay. Is it because you're fast? Is it because you're using technology? Is it because you have experience? You have been in this game for 20 years or 30 years? Talk to me about what constitutes your USP, boss. Let's have a conversation about that, because you can't just walk around and tell everybody, hey, listen, yeah, I'm going to try to really explore last mile. You explore last mile, but you have no competitive edge. You're not going to survive, boss. Okay. I'm just keeping it real with you, because see, the thing is, you see a lot of folks, and a lot of folks, they just razzle dazzle you, giving you false hopes. They do not explain to you things in detail, what's really happening. You got to have a USP. You need to have a unique selling proposition. Otherwise, you're not going to survive in this industry, in this delivery industry. And I don't really care whether you're talking about first mile, middle mile, or last mile. Mile is mile. If you're trying to you want to haul some loads, you better have some competitive advantage. Okay. So when I'm talking about USP, it's the same thing as a competitive advantage. So maybe try last mile. Maybe last mile will be better for you anyway, right? So you got to see what really is happening at your local level. Just to kind of remind you, when we speak about last mile, I'm speaking about last mile delivery is the process of getting the product, let's say from a distribution center to the customer or a retail store. So this is basically the last part of the supply chain, okay? So this is important. So the first mile, in contrast, is the operations for delivering the product from the manufacturer or retailer's warehouse to a holding or fulfillment facility. Okay, so I'm just trying to compare and contrast those two so you have a clear idea of what I'm speaking about. And now, the last thing you want to do is you need to continue to improve. So if you want to make money, if you want to start a very profitable middle mile delivery business, you need to be in a position where you have to constantly improve your game. You got to stay on top of your game, boss. You got to stay on top of your game. You need to constantly sort of exploit the advantages of middle mile delivery. You need to see exactly what's happening in terms of working hard to reduce your cost. In terms of working hard to have a competitive advantage. I just explained to that. In terms of making sure that you are adaptable. What does adaptability means? It means that you are willing to go literally the extra mile. It means that if you are hauling somewhere in New York, let's say you are in Brooklyn, that you are willing to go to PA. You're willing to go to Philly. You are going to go to Connecticut. You're willing to go to DC. You go into any neighboring states. If you are in same thing. So whatever you are, you have to be willing to be flexible. See, customers love flexibility. Customers love adaptability. If you are a delivery driver and you are an owner operator and you have this ability to be adaptable based on customers needs, you are going to make money. Whether you are in the first mile delivery, middle mile delivery, or last mile delivery, you will still be making money, boss. Okay, this is really important. So when we talk about continuing to improve, you got to look at all aspects of your operations: how you deliver loads, how you bid on loads, whether you do so on load boards or elsewhere. How you actually structure your operation. Do you need a freight broker? Do you need a dispatcher, or do you do things yourself? Do you want to do things yourself? The thing here is that everybody tells you, hey, you gotta get a freight dispatcher. Not necessarily. Maybe you are so organized. The whole thing about a freight dispatcher is that the freight dispatcher will help you with the front office and back office. Front office, bringing revenue to your business, right? Booking loads for you, taking care of all the lanes, and making sure that you are constantly loaded. So that's the front office. But also, a freight dispatcher may take care of the back office, because you are a business, okay? You are an owner operator. You are a business, and you have needs. Like you have to take care of taxes. You got to pay your taxes, of course. You have to file all kinds of paperwork, and so a freight dispatcher will kind of help you from A to Z. But chances are you could do this yourself too. It really depends on your background and your whole regard to something called organization. Are you organized, boss? Talk to me about that. Are you organized? Or are you just like, disorganized like me? You kind of messy. You really love. It's not about being disorganized. It's about just having another definition of order. Let's just call it that way. So Some people are messy. Some people are really organized. My brother is very organized. I'm not. Okay. So those are really things you got to ask yourself. So depending on your personality, depending on your background, also depending on your level of or on your level of skill set, you need to choose whether or not you want to continue to improve either through a freight dispatcher or do it yourself. Thank you so much for your attention, boss. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just quickly talking to you about how to start a middle mile delivery business. Number one, understand middle mile or middle level. Number two, position yourself. Number three, optimize deliveries. Number four, you want to study local rivals. Number five, you want to find potential clients. Number six, you want to explore last mile instead. Maybe that will work. And number seven, you want to continue to improve. Thank you. God bless you. I'll see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.